Hello, scholars, and welcome back. This is week 2 of POL 451, Executive Leadership and Management in the Public Sector. Well, I hope that we all had a beneficial and a successful week 1. I know that typically when we transition between spring semester and summer semester, and they give us those couple weeks, especially here in OPS, of downtime in between sections, it sometimes takes us a little while to get our feet back underneath us. I know that myself being a student as well, the breaks in between sections, I get accustomed to that time off rapidly. But now we're back in session and we're into week 1, or we've completed week 1, and now that we're at week 2, I hope that you have some good footing underneath you, and that you got through the readings of week 1 and you got established into the leadership challenge. You identified some of those concepts that Coase and Posner, or the introduction of their book, and what they're going to try to introduce to us in the weeks to come. I hope that was grounded into the lessons and of what we talked about in week 1. And as we have that foundation, we're going to now transition into week 2. We realize that these two researchers, these from Santa Clara University, this James Coase and this Barry Posner, that they sought to answer a question, and that question is, what do you do as a leader when you're performing at your personal best? And that groundbreaking study, and through all the editions of their book and the amount of data that they've accumulated and analyzed and reported on, they have identified these 5 key practices or strengths of leadership. 5 things that make that these effective leaders do. And one of the first of those was the ability to inspire a shared vision. And that is our topic this week, is how to inspire a shared vision. And if the concept is to inspire a shared vision, the question should be for us is how to inspire a shared vision. How are we going to accomplish this? 1, what is it? And 2, how do I accomplish this if it's so important? So there are 2 primary components to this fundamentally critical ability for leaders. The first is inspiration, and the second is that this vision is shared. Leaders help people imagine the future, and they clarify the goals needed to create that future. Leaders are also able to create a picture of the future that people want to be a part of and help create. As leaders develop these abilities, there are 2 common mistakes that we need to avoid. The first one is this inspiration without sharing. Some leaders are able to create enormously compelling pictures of the future. People stand up and they'll shout, "Yes, we love this. Let's go out and do this." The problem is then those people then sit back down and say that, how is the leader going to accomplish that? So they have the inspiration, but they're not sharing the ability of how it's going to be accomplished. And then there's also another mistake, is sharing without inspiration. Some leaders do a great job making it clear how everyone's going to benefit or be impacted by the vision. However, this can take on a tone of you people are responsible for this, or I have a vision, but you are going to be the individuals that are going to make this vision come to fruition. And a lot of times that this is another downfall that we need to understand. So not all vision is equal. Some visions really do come from the imagination of the leader, and other visions emerge from the collaborative voice of the group. And both of those concepts are valid. Many leaders get stuck believing that they are responsible for generating all the vision themselves, and this is not true. Leaders can draw a vision out of the people they lead. However, this is a key point, that leaders are responsible for identifying, clarifying, and communicating that vision. And that's one of those important things, that although I can pull that vision from a group, I, as the leader, I need to be the one that's going to identify it, clarify it, and communicate this. So how do we do this? How do we get people to motivate? How can we share this inspired vision? Some of the things that we're going to see in the readings this week that I want you to focus on is that we need to give significance to this shared vision. And by giving significance, we desire to be valued by others and we need to be engaged in meaningful work. We need to understand that a lot of people are looking for security in the future and in this vision. We want to feel safe in our relationships, our finances, and in our bodies. And then we want satisfaction in this vision of the future that we're going to share. We want relationships we enjoy and give us some sense of this good life. And inspiring vision speaks strongly to one or more of these motivations of significance, security, and satisfaction. And a shared vision should be able to connect with many people on similar values at the same time. So, some of the questions you can ask when you start reflecting or as we move forward in this course on how does a shared vision, or do I work in an organization that has a shared vision? You should ask yourself, what would you like your workplace to know or to have accomplished in the future? That would definitely be the vision of the future. What is it about this envisioned future that makes the vision important to you? And don't assume that everybody's similarities are going to be common. That what motivates one individual or what might be the shared vision or important to one person about the future might not be that of the other. So just some basic little concepts that I threw together, some quick notes that I took as I read through this week's readings of how to inspire a shared vision. And I look forward to what you are going to take from this as well. So now let's look at what our expectations are of week one. So I've added in some lecture slides once again. And what the lecture slides are is nothing more than some key points that you should look over before you dive into the readings. And these are the key kind of figures that stood out to me of what I just spoke of earlier and what you should be able to pull out of the readings or the reading. Here we have what our readings are going to be here in week 2. It's going to be chapter 4 and chapter 5. And then we have week 2 quiz, which is going to consist of what week 4, week 5, and the lecture notes from week 2 that are attached here as well. And once again, just a quick quiz, true, false, short answer. It's not timed, but you must finish the quiz in one session. Then we have a week 2 discussion board. And one of the things that I changed this week is that I put a word count that's associated with your discussion boards. So the question is, what do we expect too much from our leaders? Should there be a distinction between professional expectations and moral expectations? Post your thoughts and respond to at least 2 classmates' initial posts. I want your original post to be 200 words and your reply post to be a minimum of 100 words. And remember, we need to do 2 of those. So that gives me a word count, and then that is a little bit based upon some week 1 feedback. I saw some individuals that really put some effort in, and I saw some individuals that just kind of barely put the effort in. So with that word count, it at least gives you a minimum of where you need to be. And remember, I'm always looking for the quantity or the quality of your work as opposed to the quantity. But I don't believe that you can give me a quality answer with less than 200 words. That's where I always come up with that. But if we look back to what the question, do we expect too much of our leaders nowadays? And within your organization, so if you were to ask a question of your organization, do we expect that our leaders to run and give us the vision of the future, or is it more of an internal? Are there other players within the organization that are creating the drive and the direction of it? Do we need these transformational leaders that are going to come in and just change your organization? Or are we more based upon the adage that internal leaders, department leaders, generalized leaders, managers per se are going to drive our organization? And what I really ask you this is we reflect on this as a public sector, because in the public sector, are we going to get individuals that are going to be able to come in that are going to make dramatic changes? And many of us would say no, that many of us are organizations that are in the public sector, there we are driven by a lot of rules and regulations, whether they are your SOPs of your organization, they're the human resource, they are rules within that bind throughout the charter of the city. So is it possible for a leader to come in and make dramatic change, to change these big transformational leaders? Or is it is leadership and change going to come at more of a much more smaller micro level from more of our managers and our internal leaders? So I ask you that, and make a post and then give me 2 replies, and we have our word count. So we have a quiz, we have a discussion board, and we have our week 2 application assignment. So as we look through here, it's 25 points possible. There are 2 links. There is a written link and a video. So what we're asking is that we are going to look at the President Dwight Eisenhower's 1957 inaugural address. Based on the speech, identify the comments of at least one quote from the speech that shows how America is to model the way. Identify the portion of the speech that provides evidence of him modeling the way, and also point out any other notable leadership characteristics from this speech. Submit your answers in the submission text box. The length should be between 3 to 5 paragraphs. So once again, you can read the speech through this link, and then you can watch it through this link. And remember, this is a 1957 video, and you'll notice it really quick when you start watching it that it is definitely from 1957. But I believe this is so fitting now, especially with the modern political system that we have and our president that we have currently, where we're talking about how America needs to model the way. And remember, and I want you to kind of think back to the time that this address or this inaugural address was being delivered. We realized that we had a military leader in President Eisenhower, who was our president. This was going to be his second term. And I just want you to pull out from this speech, how you believe that he's giving evidence that America needs to be the model of leading the way, and then any other notable leadership characteristics. And obviously, I want you to bring that as how he is sharing or inspiring his vision of what the U.S. needs to be and how it needs to be as we model our way. So once again, 3 to 5 paragraphs. Make a nice body. I'm looking for nice scholarly writing with complete thoughts, that it is with both grammatically correct, that spelling and punctuation are there, that if we are going to be citing any information, that it's appropriately cited using APA formatting, and that it reads and flows correctly. So there we have, that is going to be our week 2 application assignment. And then we have our planning ahead. We're looking at our critical assignment. Start thinking about and start working towards getting an interview with a leader in an organization. I've attached the rubric for the assignment, and that we can get a jump on this. And remember that this assignment is due at the end of week 7. So if we're already in week 2, these dates sneak up on us rapidly. So if we open up this rubric for the interview a leader, each student will interview an executive level leader in an effective organization and prepare a written report. So if we break that down, you're actually going to have to talk to the individual, an executive level leader, so that of the executive management of the organization, and in an effective organization, one that you think is actually being successful. Remember, this is effective leadership and management in the public sector. So I would imagine that your best choice of someone to interview would be in the public sector, or how you can relate the individual that you're speaking of to the public sector. But remember, there needs to be some sort of public sector connection to this. The length of the report should be approximately 3 to 5 pages. The report must include the following items: a brief description of the organization. So I want you to tell me and talk to me about this individual and what organization he works or she works for, and give me some background. A brief biographical sketch of the selected leader. Give me some information about the individual you're talking about. A detailed description of the leader's style, personality, values, strength, and skills. So obviously, those might be 5 questions you ask. What do you believe is your style, your personality? What do you hold to be valuable? What do you consider to be your strengths, and what do you consider to be your skill set? A description of the leader's most outstanding leadership accomplishment performed by the leader. A list of the questions asked the leader in bold print with a script of the leader's response following each question. So I want you to bold what the question was and follow up with what the reply was. And this would be in the appendix of the paper. A final analysis of your interview's utilization of or lack of sound leadership principles, along with at least one suggestion improving the leadership's impact on the organization. Examples of some good questions could be, do you have any guiding principles concerning practice of management? What is your basic philosophy of management? How would you characterize your approach to management? Which of the following rules or functions plays the biggest part in your management style? Are you a figurehead? Are you a leader? Are you a liaison? Are you a monitor? Are you a disseminator? Are you a spokesman? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a disturbance handler, resource allocator, or a negotiator? And then we have a list of managerial tasks that you might feel that they use. Be familiar with them before your interview, and this will help you guide your questions. So definitely. So what I would do is I would make a quick little brief idea or concept, especially if I knew a little bit about the individual. I would write down a series of questions. I would interview those based upon those questions, and then we're just going to report on those questions. So there's a checklist here that we want to ensure that we cover in order to ensure that we have an appropriate paper. The thesis or purpose of the paper is clearly stated. Why I'm interviewing this, what's the purpose of this paper. The ideas are presented in a logical manner. Paper presents an extensive and balanced view of the literature, principles of leadership, and studies in the Bible where applicable. The paper has a minimum of 5 references. At least 3 of these references are scholarly journals. Obviously, if we had the Bible and the book that we're using, we would probably round out those 5 references with no problem. In mechanics, we're wanting to make sure that it has appropriate APA formatting, that spelling and grammar are appropriate, and the paper has a good flow to it. And what I mean by flow is that there's an introduction, there's a body, and there's a conclusion. And then we can go through our critical thinking elements. And then each one of these are broke down into how we score here in OPS, that your paper is exemplary, it's accomplished, it's developing, or it's at the beginning stage. And based upon that, we have the scoring of the breakdown of both mechanics and content. You see that you can get 50 points out of mechanics and 75 points out of the content. So that is a brief planning ahead at looking at our interview a leader. So if by any of you have any questions or concerns about your leader, you can always just send me a quick email. It says, hey, this is the individual that I think I'm going to interview. Do you have any issues with that? But if you feel that they fit that criteria and you can answer those questions, then I look forward to, I think you have a solid interview. So there we go. That is what we are looking at here in week 2 and in the weeks to come. So we need to look through our lecture slides. We need to read chapters 5 and 6 in our text. Or 4 and 5, excuse me. So we want to look through our lecture slides. We want to read chapters 4 and 5. We need to take our quiz. We need to submit our discussion boards. Remember that all of these assignments are going to be due by Sunday of week 2 by 11:59. Our discussion board, we're going to submit an original post that's 200 words, followed up by 2 replies of at least 100 words. And then we are going to listen to President Eisenhower's 1957 inaugural address, and we're going to extract out of that how he identifies how the U.S. is going to model the way, and we're going to talk and we're going to reply on his leadership characteristics, and 3 to 5 paragraphs. And once again, that is going to be due at 11:59 on Sunday as well. So that wraps up week 2. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to email me. Once again, something that I always bring up in my week 2 is that we understand the late policy and that we hit that again. Remember, no late work in this course is accepted without proper communication and a justifiable excuse that is solely at my discretion. So with no communication, there is no late work accepted. With communication, with a viable excuse, late work is accepted. I hope that you understand that the key word there is communication. Without communication, this could be a very difficult course. With communication, there's very few things that we cannot handle, solve. That is the key. So if you have any problems at all in this course, you need to contact me. I also live by the concept that if I'm not hearing from you, my assumption is that everything is going well in this class. And I like it when I don't hear from you because it makes me feel really good that, man, we are really hidden. There's people are understanding, they're absorbing the information, they're writing on the information. So that's my understanding. And if I do not hear otherwise from you, I have nothing else to build upon. So communication is key. If you're going to be an online student, you understand this. So let's just consider that your second warning on the late policy. And after 2 warnings, I think we all should have it understood. So I give you the best of luck this week. I'll keep you in my prayers. I'm looking for good quality scholarly work. This is a good week of quality work that you can send to me. So I'm really looking forward to reading through all of your assignments here in week 2. Um, this being Sunday, I should be able to grade all week 1 assignments tomorrow on Monday. So look forward to getting some feedback on your assignments. And once again, if you have any concerns or comments, email me as soon as possible. I hope that you all have a blessed week too, and I look forward to reading all your works. I'll talk to you real soon. Take care for now.